Hello dear students, myself Dr. Sachin Gurule, Assistant Professor from Department of Zoology, KTHM College, Nasik. In the previous video, belongs to subject Animal Diversity 4, belongs to the 4th semester. We are learning the topics belongs to the chapter number 2, that is Introduction to Class Aves. And in the second lecture, we have learned the classification of the class Aves. Now in this video, we are going to start with the next topic, and the name of topic is flight adaptation in the birds. So let's see what kind of the flight adaptation can be seen into the birds for the purpose of successful flight. Now birds, obviously these are the masters of air as they are capable of the flight. So flying is a unique kind of the locomotory capability can be found among the birds as compared to the other animals. So flying is the balance between actually the two set of forces, that is the lift and weight and thrust and drag. So here in this diagram you can see these two kinds of the forces, they are responsible for the purpose of flight. So on the one hand, there is a lift and there is a gravity. The gravity is responsible for giving the weight to the body actually. Then the another force is a thrust and the drag. Now weight is a result of the gravity and lift generated by the flow of air over the wings. So whatever air which is passing over and below the wings, which is responsible for causing a thrust, and the gravity is responsible for weight, which is responsible for pulling the body at the downward direction. But the air which passes from dorsal and ventral part of the wing is actually responsible for giving the thrust or the lift into the air for the birds. Now if you see the wings of the birds, that wings of the birds are not flat, but they are concave from the below or the ventral side, and they are convex from the above. So this kind of the peculiarity of the shape of the wing is very important for having the flight into the air for that birds. And hence due to this difference, that is the concave ventral side and the convex above, that is dorsal side, the air that passes over the convex surface has to cover the more distance and it moves faster as compared to the lower convex surface. So here in this both the diagram you can see, so this is the air current or the direction of the air. So flow of the air from the below the wing or from the ventral side, it is a straight and it is a comparatively slow. But if you see the flow of the air from the above side of the wing or the convex surface of the wing, it has to cover a more distance as compared to that of the air which passes below the wing. Now this difference between the passing the air from the convex surface of the wing and the concave surface in the speed of the air on upper and lower surface of the wing is responsible for causing the decrease in air pressure above the wing surface as compared to its lower side. So there is a decrease in air pressure in the above side due to the wings, the air have to pass or slowly and have to cover the long distance as compared to the wind or the air which passes from the below side. Now thus the two forces generates the suction above the wings and upward thrust below the wings. Okay, so this kind of the difference of traveling the air from the above surface and the below surface is responsible for causing the upward thrust, particularly the air which is passes down or passes below the wing, which is responsible for giving the thrust or upward thrust to or the lift to the body of that birds. So they lift the wings upward and allow the bird to move in a various directions. So this is actually the principle behind the flight of the birds. Okay, so this is only due to the difference in the structure above and below the wings. Okay, so for the aerial mode of life, the birds have adapted themselves through some interesting anatomical, physiological, embryological, as well as the ecological association adaptations. That ecological adaptations are various anatomical, physiological, and embryological adaptation that gives them a better chance to fly into the air. So we are going to learn what are actually the adaptations which can be categorized as anatomical, physiological, embryological, or ecological adaptations which are found among the birds for the purpose of flight. So let's see one by one. First of all, the body shape. Now if you see the shape of the body of all the birds is almost the streamline and the spindle shape. Now this streamline and the spindle shape structure or the shape of the body, it offers a minimum resistance with that of the air, and hence it helps during the flight to propel through the air. So this is a very important aspect of the body shape, that is the streamline, and this is responsible for minimizing the resistance with that of the air, and hence they can able to capable of the flight into the air. Then second adaptation is a compact body. So all the birds, they are provided with a compact and the light body. It is strong dorsally and heavier ventrally, that helps maintaining the balance into the air. So the distribution of the body weight is also the very specialized among the birds. Okay, so the heavier part they are lies at the ventral side, and which is responsible for maintaining the balance into the air. The feature such as the position of the wings, then the lungs, that is air sacs high up into the thorax, while the heavy muscles, sternum and digestive organs, they lies beneath the midline of the wing attachment, result in the low center of gravity, and this due to the low center of gravity is also helping them into the balance and the flight. So this is the special arrangement you can found among the birds. Okay, so the special position of the lungs or the air sac, which is high up into the thorax. So this is the thoracic region where you will found the wings and the lungs, and the heavy muscles, then sternum. So this one is a sternum, then digestive organ, they are lies in this part. So this kind of the distribution of the weight is also responsible for giving the low center of gravity, which helps in a balancing as well as flight for the birds. So this is the second adaptation. Then the third adaptation is a feathery exoskeleton. So we have already learned the birds are characterized by having the feathers as an exoskeletal part, which is a one of the characteristic feature among the birds or all the aves. The backwardly directed feathers, they are generally smooth and they fit closely to one another, that further enhances the streamlined body. So obviously the shape of the body is also streamlined. The feathers are backwardly directed and they are generally overlapping and they are fitted very close to one another, which is responsible for further enhancing the streamlined body, which is also responsible for minimizing the drag with the air. Then light feather holds a considerable blanket of the enveloping air around the body, and it also adds much of the buoyancy to that of the bird. The feathers are non-conductile and insulate the body to prevent the heat loss, that helps in maintaining a constant body temperature irrespective of the external fluctuation. And this, due to the presence of the feathers, these birds are able to maintain their constant body temperature irrespective of the temperature of the surrounding, and hence they are homeotherms. So the presence of feathery exoskeleton is also helping directly or indirectly in the process of flight. Okay, the next adaptation is the presence of wings. Now we know that in all the birds, Their forelimbs, they are always modified into the unique and powerful organ, and that unique powerful organ we call it as a wings. Now these wings are equipped with the specialized and the powerful flight muscles, and that powerful flight muscles provides the extraordinary force for the propulsion in the air during the flight. So these muscles are responsible for a great movement of the wings. They are provided with a highly developed thoracic muscles, and their activity is responsible for giving them the force of propulsion during the flight when they are in the air. The elongated flight feathers of the wings are called as the remiges, okay, or singular word is a remix, okay. So this expanded membranous part of the each remix forms a flexible and the continuous surface for striking in the air during the flight. The flight feathers of the wings forms the broad surface for supporting the bird in the air. The particular shape of the wing with the thick strong leading edge, convex upper surface, concave lower surface, this causes a reduction in air pressure above and increase the below with minimum turbulence behind, and hence they got a lift into the air. So this helps in diving the bird forward and upwards during the flight. So the presence of feather and their unique arrangement of having the convex upper surface and concave lower surface, it having the great importance which gives them the diving force as well as in the diving force or in the forward direction as well as upward direction, which is responsible for causing the lift also. Okay, so this is the another feature, that is presence of wing. Then they are provided with a comparatively short tail. If you see the birds of the modern era, they are provided with a less number of the caudal vertebrae, and due to the again further fusion of the terminal few vertebrae into the structure known as a pygostyle, which is responsible for causing a shortening of their tail. But if you see the ancient birds, they are provided about a 30 caudal vertebrae. Hence, the tail is quite longer in the ancient birds. But in the modern birds, the tail is a short. So the tail is a short, is a muscular, and it bears long, strong but lighter caudal feathers. Okay, that caudal feathers are referred as rectrices. These rectrices have the fan-like arrangement, and it acts as a rudder during the flight, and so that the birds can able to change the direction as per their will. Okay, now this rudder or the fan like rectrices, they are acting as a rudder for steering into the air during the flight. That helps in a counterbalancing during the perching also. So this is another features or the adaptation with the tail is helping the birds during the flight. The next adaptation is concerned with the beak. The conversion of the forelimbs into the wings is duly compensated by the presence of bill, or so called as a beak, which is another characteristic feature of the birds. The mouth is drawn out into a horny beak, which is used as a forceps to picking up the things. Okay, so they are using their beak for drawing their food material, or which can be used as a forceps for picking the particular thing. So not only the food, many birds, they are showing the nesting behavior also. So for the purpose of nesting, whatever particular substratum they require to prepare their nest, which can be pick up with the help of beak or the bill only. So besides the procurement of the food, the beak is also useful for the purpose of nest building. In some cases, it is useful for the offense and defense. It is also useful in the preening, then removing the insect pest from the feathers. So in this way, the beak can be variously modified for the different kind of the purposes. Okay. Then the next character is the mobile neck, or the next adaptation. The neck of the bird is comparatively long, is a flexible and highly mobile. So this mobile beak is allow them to use their beak for the purpose of feeding, preening, nesting, offense, defense, etc. Okay, so the mobility of the neck is again equally important for performing a different task. Then another feature is the bipedal locomotion. As we know that the forelimbs are get modified into the wings, the hind limbs or the legs are slightly shifted towards the anterior from the trunk to balance the and the support the body weight. So only the hind limbs in case of the birds which are useful for the purpose of locomotion, okay, on the ground particularly and into the water. Thus all the birds, they are said to be the having bipedal locomotion. Bipedal locomotion in the sense, in the process of locomotion, they are using only the two legs, that is the hind pair of legs, showing the bipedality. Now bipedal locomotion is a characteristic feature of the birds for the flight, since flightless birds have all retained the habit of the walking on the two legs. The legs are also relatively stronger among the birds which are not capable of the flight. So this is all bipedal locomotion is only due to the modification of the forelimbs into the wings for the purpose of flight. So this is another adaptation you will see among the birds. The next adaptation is with the flight muscles. So birds are not only provided with the wings, but that wings are provided with a flight muscle which are very strong for the purpose of flight, located in the breast region and is weighing 1/6 of the body weight. Means majority of the muscles, they are in the category of the flight muscles, okay, and they lies into the breast region. So these powerful muscles are responsible for giving them the flight. The pectoralis major, so here you can see the pectoralis muscle, different kinds of the pectoralis muscle. The pectoralis muscle can be classified as a pectoralis major and pectoralis minor. So of them, the pectoralis major muscles aids into the downstroke movement, while the pectoralis minor muscles are responsible for upstroke movement of the wing. So this upstroke, or the wing moves from the ventral side to dorsal side, this activity can be provided by the pectoralis minor muscle, while the downstroke movement, which is very important movement for getting the thrust or getting the lift, so this is responsible is due to the pectoralis major muscles. So these two kinds of the flight muscles are highly evolved among the modern birds, and hence they are provided with the capability of the strong flight. Then next adaptation is the purging. The purging, the birds, they are adapted for the arboreal mode of life. So many of the birds, they are showing the arboreal life, that is they are living into the trees, and their hind limbs are modified for the purpose of perching the twigs. So for that purpose, here if you see in this diagram, the birds, they are provided with a 4 toes, and of these 4 toes, 3 toes are directed in a forward direction, and the 1 toe is going to oppose and is opposable to that of the 3, and is lies in a backward direction, and which is comparatively dominant also. Now these kind of the arrangement present into the toes of the bird, which is easily gives the perching for that birds, so it can be useful for the perching the twigs. The bending of the legs exerts a pull on the flexor tendons, which make the toes automatically to flex and grip the perch, and hence many of the arboreal birds, they are provided with such a kind of the perching feet, which is again another characteristic feature. Then another modification you will found for the reducing the body weight is in the endoskeleton. Now endoskeleton, obviously it is the bony. The endoskeleton is also showing a many modification that are needed for the aerial life for the birds. The skeleton of the bird is a compact as compared to the other chordate organism, as there is great fusion of the bones and the girdles you will found among the aves as compared to the other chordate organism. So the bones are get reduced, and that bones are get fused particularly into the girdle, the pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle. They contains a bone, but the bones they are get fused with one another as compared to the other chordates. So most of the bones are pneumatic and they contains the air sac. So pneumatic bone, they do not contains a bone marrow, and this is again one of the adaptation shown by the birds for reducing the body weights. And instead of that bone marrow, their position is taken by the air sac, and that air sac is also responsible for providing the additional buoyancy to the flying birds. Now skull bones are also light, and most of them are firmly fused with the one another. Okay, the heterocellous vertebrae confers a great flexibility. Now heterocellous vertebrae we have seen into the previous lecture also. If the centrum of the vertebrae has one concave side and another one is a convex side, giving a saddle shape to the centrum, such a kind of the vertebrae we call is as a heterocellous vertebrae. So this due to the presence of such a heterocellous vertebrae, it is responsible for providing or conferring the great flexibility during the flight. So this is also adding the benefits for the flight in the birds. The fusion of the pelvic, the fusion of the pelvis with the sacrum, it provides the firm attachment to the legs. Okay, and the sternum of the pectoral girdle is greatly expanded, and it bears a large mid-ventral ridge, or it is known as a keel, and that keel is useful for the attachment of the flight muscle. So this is the sternum, and which is commonly known as a keel. So this keel is highly developed among the birds, and this gives the site of attachment to the pectoralis major muscles, which are responsible for the downstroke movement of the wing, which is again a very important. The another feature, if you see the fusion of the bones you can found into the girdle region. So the pelvic, lumbar and some tail vertebrae, they are get fused with one another to form a sacrum. So not only that, if you see this one is the caudal part, the caudal part is containing the caudal vertebrae. The terminal most the caudal vertebrae, they are also get fused with one another, forming a composite structure that is known as a pygostyle. So this kind of the modification you will found into the endoskeleton that also helps in the process of flight for the birds. The next modification is with the digestive system. The birds have the high metabolic rate, and this high metabolic rate is due to the capability of the flight. In order to meet the demand of the energy, they require more food, and the digestion of that food is also rapid, and hence they are provided with a rapid digestive capabilities. Thus their digestive system is quite compact. So here in this diagram you can see, so this one is a mouth and it leads into the alimentary canal. So their alimentary canal is quite compact and it is an effective one. The rectum is a short because the relatively small fecal matter and is being discharged out periodically once it is formed after the process of digestion, and hence we will found the comparatively the smaller rectum among the birds. So this compact arrangement of the digestive system is also responsible for reducing the weight, and whatever the undigested food material which is get formed, it is periodically thrown outside the body, so that again is responsible for reducing the weight, because the food is not remain for a longer period in the alimentary tract. Then the another adaptation which is found with the respiratory system. The lungs of the birds are non-elastic and they are supplemented by the air sac that grows and occupy the available space between the internal organ. Now these air sac even extend in the cavities of the pneumatic bones. So this respiratory system is very unique among the birds. With the lungs are the non-elastic, they are supplemented with the air sac, and often this air sac also extends into the cavities of the pneumatic bones. Okay, the air sac secures the more perfect aeration into the wings, aeration of the lungs, and help in internal respiration. So thus helping in the regulation of the body temperature. Okay, so the respiratory system, they are providing a continuous aeration to the lungs and the internal respiration, so thus helping the regulation of the body temperature, because the extensive use of the flight muscle are responsible for causing the raise in a temperature, and that temperature can be minimized or can be controlled with the help of supply of the high air also. So while flying, the movement of the wings contribute to the respiration by compressing and dilating the air sac, and thus the bird breathe more easily when in flight than that of the other time. So these flight muscles, they are responsible for uh, compressing and dilating the air sac which are present into the lungs as well as the body region, so that gives them the extra efficiency of the respiration during the flight. Okay, so this is the adaptation with the respiratory system. Then homeothermic body. Now all the birds, they are homeothermic animals, can able to maintain their constant body temperature. The high body temperature is about the 40 to 46 degree, which is maintained due to the perfect aeration of the blood. So not only the perfect aeration is important in maintaining the body temperature, but their role of the feather is also equally important for maintaining the temperature of the body, because the feathers are often, they are act as a insulators. Okay, now the circulatory system is again well developed, being homeothermic with a high metabolic rate. The birds require a huge oxygen supply with the efficient circulatory system also, and thus the heart of the bird is relatively large and they are provided with a four chamber, and there is a complete separation of the venous and oxygenated blood, and the circulation is referred as a double circulation, means there is a separate mechanism for the transportation of the venous blood and the transportation of the oxygen blood. Moreover, the RBCs, they are having the high content of the hemoglobin than that of the any other vertebrate or the chordate organism. So this also gives them a maximum efficiency to carry the oxygen to fulfill the demand of oxygen due to the flight. So this is again the modification with the circulatory system. Then excretory system. Now all the birds are uricotelic. Uricotelic in the sense their excretory product is in the form of uric acid. So the water from the excretory waste is again reabsorbed by the collecting tubules of the kidney. In the carpodium of the cloaca, as a result of semi-solid excreta containing insoluble uric acid and urate crystals are discharged through the cloaca periodically. Means they are not going to store the digestive undigested food material as well as the excretory waste in their body. Once it is get formed, it is continuously or the periodically discharged through the cloacal opening. The urinary bladder is completely absent among the birds, and there is no temporary storage of urine as like that of the other vertebrate. So this is again another feature. Absence of urinary bladder is just to compensate the body weight. Okay, so the body weight is reduced by absence of the urinary bladder also. So absence of urinary bladder and no storage of the excretory product gives the more advantage in loss of the body weight, so they can able to add the flight activity of the bird. So this is about the excretory system. Then nervous system and the sense organ, they are highly developed. Birds mainly rely on the sight rather than the smell. Reasonably, they are provided with comparatively the large eyes. Both eyes are taken together and are often heavier than that of the brain. So if you see, the weight of the eyes is often larger than that of the heavier than that of the brain. They are provided with a large optic lobes. That large optic lobes further adds the capability of sight, because that optic lobes is the center of the vision into the brain. So they are provided with a large eyes and large optic lobes. Then next one is the eyes. Now the large eyes provides the binocular vision with a wide field view. The transparent nictitating membrane covers the eyeball during the flight and gives the protection to the eyeball. The sclerotic ring of the bony plate provides the eyeball and increases the distance between the lens and the retina for the sharp distance distinct vision. So here you can see there is a distance between the lens and the retina. So this one is a lens uh, which is having the comparatively large distance between the retina. So due to that, they are getting a very sharp and distant vision also. So birds have acute eyesight, that raptors having the vision 8 times sharper than that of the human, because high density of the photoreceptor cells which are present into the retina. So retina, they are provided with a sharp photoreceptor cells, and due to that, the bird's sight capability is 8 times more than that of the sight of human being. So this is again another feature which adds the flying activity among the birds. Then the reproductive system. The ovaries and testes are reduced in size except in the breeding season. So only breeding in the breeding season the gonads are get developed. Usually only one functional ovary is present among the females, and that is belongs to the left side, and the second ovary from the right side is either greatly reduced to decrease the weight of the body. So this is another adaptation shown by the females to reduce the body weight. So as they are provided with a single gonad from the left side, and the right gonad is reduced or completely absent, the female liver is displaced to the right to compensate the weight difference, as the ovary is only present at the left side and right ovary is absent. To compensate the loss of weight of belongs to the right side of the ovary, the right lobe of the liver is displaced to the right side, and hence it is responsible for compensating the weight. So but in case of the predatory birds, generally both the ovaries and the oviducts are present. So this is because during the hunting, these birds have to pounce on the prey with a great force, and struggling prey can kick and break the eggs into the reproductive system. And to minimizing the loss of the eggs or loss of the ovary or the damage to the ovary, the predatory birds, they are generally provided with a paired ovaries. But this is not the case in case of the male. Males are provided with a pair of testes, and the testes are present at right as well as left side. But in case of female, the ovary is only present at the left side, which is just to compensate the body weight. So all these are the different kinds of the adaptation which are shown by the birds for the purpose of aerial life or to fly into the air. So I hope all of you know now what kind of the adaptation which are shown by the birds for the aerial life. So thank you very much.